Hello, everyone. Happy holidays. Here I am for my recap because I've missed everything else. I finally had a chance to catch up on Survivor. So, this is going to be my little bit of an overall recap of the season to go out for the end of the year, plus talk about some stuff next year. So, we have our winner. Our winner is Erica. Congratulations. And I got spoiled the winner prior, and you know what? I personally didn't care because unfortunately, I wasn't super invested in this season, which sucked. The season was average. The season didn't suck, but it sucked that I wasn't invested in it. And that is just, we had some really awesome episodes, but a lot of really flatline episodes for me. And that is to do with production forcing gameplay down the players' throats, where the best episodes are when you let the players do what they do best and play the game. And we see no idols were really used. All the twists and turns were kind of nothing. So I won't bother going in the episode I missed. We'll just talk about this episode, I guess. Or more so the winner here, because we end up with our final three being Deshawn, Erica, and Xander. It seemed Ricard might have been a bit bitter that Xander didn't play his idol for Ricard. I don't know. Also might have been a bit bitter, or might have just been really thought Xander should have gone to fire. But it's strange that Xander gets 0 votes here. Deshawn should get 0 votes, but Danny, good mates. Sometimes it's hard to. Sometimes when you get a bond with people, they're just going to vote their friend no matter what. Which brings me to the way this season ended. When I knew Erica was going to win, when I knew it was 7-1-0 as far as the vote split goes, I was like, man, what a shit way to finish this season. No offense to Erica in the slightest, but it felt like we were going to have a pretty dud final three, and Xander had some moments. However, after I watched it, it kind of redeemed itself for me, because it then brings back what I love so much about this game, is that you never know what's coming around the corner. And in recent times, we did start to take a twist, or start to take a turn where players were really rewarding gameplay, strong gameplay, building that resume. And this is why people hit the ground running, want to get the resume, want to get the alliances, want to make these big moves. Whereas Erica doesn't make a single big move. But there's 3 pillars to Survivor. You have your social, you have your physical, and you have your strategic. Social is hella important. But you usually social gets you through the game, and like building the social capital, blah, 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 blah. But you still want to make some moves, usually. You still want to have a great strategic game. You still want to have a great physical. You still want to kind of have at least 2 of the 3 pillars. And I find it always seems to be very hard when you have one of the 3 pillars. If you are only social, you probably won't win. If you're only strategic, you probably won't win. If you're only physical, you probably won't win. You have to have a bit of at least 50%, 40%, 10%. If you split like that, I feel like if you can kind of explain your game that way. And actually, maybe this is something that, didn't seem, because I now can't remember, because I've watched different Survivors, and every Survivor's a little bit different. But from my last watch of the last American season, which was Winners at War, at the end, we went from tribal where you ask the question, we went from that final tribe where you ask the questions, to the final tribe where you discuss the 3 elements of the game: the social, the physical, the strategic. That, in everything's gone in my life, I can't really remember, but that didn't happen this time. We just had a discussion. So you didn't get to discuss the strategic element, or the social, or the physical. It just kind of said, if you had a question, please ask it. So maybe that little change, that little mix-up in Final Tribal didn't help Xander's cause at all. Deshaun to me should have been no votes. Deshaun couldn't win. Deshaun was irrational. As it said in the tribal, was emotional. He made some fatal moves, and he always made a fatal move at tribal council. Everything he said was an absolute disaster, and he couldn't win, in my eyes. But Xander had a chance. Erica, I kind of felt Erica was going to win anyway. But it's interesting. I saw something online. It was like the amount of confessionals she had. The edit for the first female winner in a very long time, 4 years, I think it might be. The first, Canadian winner. The first. I can't remember the last Asian heritage or POC person winning. Because I have a forgetful brain. But where was her edit? Where was we got little glimpses of her at the start. At the start, we got a lot of stuff where she was starting to play some strong strategic elements, which is why they wanted to blindside her and throw the challenge before Nasir came along and won the challenge. But the edit didn't really favor her and didn't make her shine, which kind of sucks. Because we don't get to see that. Like, I want to see this. I want to see her and Heather's relationship. We didn't see Heather at all. Like, Heather was, to me, the goat that you take to the end. She is just, you slaughter her. She's getting 0 votes easy. You want Heather at the end. Blows my mind. So to have this revelation that they were a power couple, as an audience member, we need to see this. But going back to the slightly redeeming element was the fact that these people really, this season, our jury really wanted a strong social player. Xander didn't have that. Xander was socially unaware of everything going on. He only was able to play that advantage correctly because his alliance, because of Evie. Without that, he would have failed quite miserably. But the fact that the jury really likes the jury really wanted that and really rewarded that and respected that, I actually enjoy. I don't mind that. I don't mind the fact that, sure, why does it have to be the most strategic or the most physical or the person with the big moves? It doesn't. The best game is always going to be relative to the players who you played with. Other seasons, Erica might have got 0 votes for doing nothing. So, in the end, it kind of redeemed itself for me slightly. It's still probably in my 5 worst seasons. There wasn't enough for me to really and it sucks because we had some really great cast players. We had some really great players this time around, but the season as a whole, maybe I've got to go back and watch all the last 40 seasons because I've only really watched them. I started watching when I was 12, so I haven't seen those old ones for ages. I'm 35 now, so I don't remember that. It's 20 years ago. So maybe I should watch them again, but in recent memory, this is one of the worst seasons I've seen for a while. It's up there with Island of the Idols and Ghost Island for me, which I never really enjoyed. So for those of you who did start watching it this season, please don't let this season be your end of this whole Survivor journey. There are some amazing seasons out there, and hopefully we'll get some amazing seasons to come. However, it doesn't look like season 42 would be much different just because they film back to back. They'll keep tweaking these challenges, so they won't have enough time. They won't have had time for the audience to give their reaction. That said, sometimes it doesn't matter what the audience wants. We don't get it anyway. But you know what? I would love to see a season where we just really strip it back. I would love to see a season where there are clues to a hidden immunity idol that doesn't actually exist. So people are all over the shop. Or, everyone gets a clue to a hidden immunity idol, but they're all different clues. Only one of them are right. Or only you've got to take sentences from other people's clues to work out what it is. I just like to send people on a bit of a wild goose chase. I think that would be a bit of fun. But in the grand scheme of things, this was a bit of a flat season for me, and that's sad. But we move on to our next season that we're going to watch. It's not, as far as I know, the very next season to come out is Australian Survivor, which I'm really starting to... The more American Survivor really keep pushing gameplay elements and forcing it, the more I'm starting to really like Australian Survivor a bit more. Even though, yes, Australian Survivor, we do have our twists, we do have our things that can potentially ruin gameplay, but it's, at the moment, it's pretty standard that you know there's going to be at least 2 non-elimination or fake vote outs, or that someone's going to be saved by a twist, or they'll go to exile and they'll fight their way back in. We know that'll happen at least twice. It's a 50 odd day game. Anywhere, I don't know, I think it's 50 now, but you know, the first season was 55, then it was 48, but I think we've got a 50 day game. The challenges are unique, and sometimes they're more often than not, they're overly physical and less puzzly, which we could balance that out, especially last season of Brains vs. Brawn. We should have had more brain puzzles. But you know what? I don't know, I think I'm enjoying Australian Survivor more, which is, I didn't think I'd say that for a little while. And, you know, I expect a lot more from the challenge. Everything was pretty basic. I don't care how they try to hype season 41 up. It's 26 days, just because they got no food, whoopee-doo. They got less food. It was fast. No, the game, this was the hardest season. I don't think it was the hardest season. I actually think some of the Australian ones that are going for 50 odd days are pretty hard, and they're pretty grueling. But anyway, we're going into the Australian season, Blood vs. Water. I'm excited. I'm also disappointed for one other reason. Here we've got Blood vs. Water. One of the Blood vs. Water, which, you know, your family members. What we end up getting, though, is, unfortunately, Australian casting is all over the shop sometimes, not just in reality shows. In my regular film and TV world, casting is a bit of a struggle sometimes as well, and it's painful. But we are once again doing the Australian thing by bringing back old contestants. So for a really hardcore Survivor fan like myself, this is an opportunity for me to get on. And I've got 2 pretty kick-ass brothers that could have gone in a Blood vs. Water challenge. I don't know, I mean, if I didn't have a 16-month-old baby, I'm pretty sure my partner, she would have jumped on with me as well, because maybe she might have helped me live out my dream so I could stop talking about it. But when you bring fans, if you bring old favorites back that are also bringing in a family member, you're now creating this weird game that's, it's not just Blood vs. Water, it's also fans versus favorites. There is less chance for a fan or someone new to get on the show because there are less opportunities. Sure, if you're doing a fans versus favorites, half the team are going to be fans, half the team are going to be favorites. When you do this Blood vs. Water by bringing back old contestants, i.e. favorites, or, you know, heroes, or whatever you're bringing back in, the pool of new talent, the pool of new cast members that goes in gets a bit smaller. However, the one exciting thing for me is Sandra Diaz-Twine is playing our Australian Survivor. How will she go? God, I hope she wins. She's coming, she's playing with her daughter. I mean, Russell Hantz, when he played for our game, I mean, I love Russell. I'm a big Russell fan, and he, in his first 2 seasons, every other season after that, he's just gotten weaker and weaker and weaker. And he was atrocious on Australian Survivor, which sucked. You gotta read the room, and you can't play your game. And if you're American coming into an Australian game, you gotta know that you're gonna have a target on your back. So maybe try and play a bit different. Sandra might be able to swindle her way through. I don't know. I mean, anyone who has watched Survivor or knows Survivor history or lore should know you vote Sandra out straight off the bat, because she's won twice, the first 2-time winner. But you know, Australian Survivor, the last season, we just had someone who had never seen the show, never watched an episode, never watched any YouTube highlights of Survivor, somehow playing the game. Also, when in the middle of a pandemic, filming had to be postponed for a year, and in that year, that person still didn't watch an episode or a highlight of Survivor. He's not going to know who Sandra is. Maybe we're going to get more of these players who have no idea who Sandra is. There's a lot of Australian Survivor fans who have only ever seen Australian Survivor. Don't even know about American Survivor, know very little about it. which is why a Luke Toki can come in and play a Tony style game and have his spy shack thinking and making the Australian audience think it's his thing, where all he's done is watched a highlight reel on the plane over there and saw this and implemented Tony's move. So maybe Sandra can go far. I really hope she does. So I'm really excited for Australians Survivor Blood vs. Water. That should be coming in February. Hopefully to redeem my Survivor love, my Survivor passion, which this season really pushed. And I mean, I know I've never missed a season of Survivor, but I know there has been seasons like this that have really they've been a chore to get through, and this was one of them. Not every season's like this, so I'm never not going to love Survivor, but I'm very keen for our next one. Also very keen to see the next South African Survivor. I think the South African Survivor revealed was, I think it might have been the Legends game. So there's a lot of fan favorite people returning. So it's like the All Stars. So that's pretty exciting for me as well, because I'd like to see a couple of, I've only seen 2 seasons of South African Survivor, but I'd like to see a couple of those players from those 2 seasons return as well. So anyway, Survivor's going well. We've got some good stuff to look forward to. I'm sorry I've been really slack with this and I've missed a few episodes, and it's been a lot going on. Hopefully next year I'll be bang on point doing it straight after the episode, or maybe Jack will be back and we'll keep it to half an hour episodes. We will see. Anyway, I'll wrap that up today. Thank you all for being patient with me. Thank you all for tuning in, and have a Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah or whatever other festive events you celebrate or don't celebrate. Enjoy your time away. Thanks, guys.